Well, I'm producing Geeks Got Game today, Friday morning, my new normal routine, and I stumbled upon an interesting comment in the Facebook feed, my timeline, as I was engineering the show, and it brought up the age-old question: is Bill Peduto a hypocrite? And I know all of the Peduto bots out there think he's Mr. Progressive. He's a paper progressive. He has never met a big business that he hasn't liked. He's riddled with double standards, and this one I thought rang very, very true. Bill Peduto, in a Facebook comment today, said, "We don't know what anyone said. What is the fear of making it public?" And he's talking about the FBI investigation into Brett Kavanaugh. He said, "Just like any and all legislative and judicial investigations involving public process, not trying to be a snark, I just want to know why, once it has been conducted and before action, why it can't be public. No." Bill Peduto, why can't the Amazon bid be public? No. And I don't want to see Brett Kavanaugh be nominated to the Supreme Court, but I also don't want Amazon moving in without paying any taxes, getting a free ride, having all of the advantages, all of the cards in their favor, treating Pittsburgh as its playground to do whatever it wants with, and we have no idea what's in the deal. So I ask Bill Peduto, why can't we know? Why can't the public know? The bids are in. Amazon's making its decision. What have you given away, Mayor Bill Peduto? What have you taken from us and given to Amazon? In the Senate situation, there's some question as to whether they can even release the information in the FBI report due to privacy laws. But you, Bill Peduto, you have no excuse. The courts have given you, they've taken the burden off of your shoulders and have taken it on themselves by giving you a court order to release the bid results for Amazon, the bid that Pittsburgh has given to Amazon to try to court the large mega trillion-dollar company which just can't afford taxes, I'm sure. It's given you an order to release that information to the public because of right to know laws. But you, Bill Peduto, have decided to snub your nose at the courts and refuse to release the bid despite a court order. So I just ask, why are you not bound to those same rules that you want to hold other politicians to in releasing information to the public? I think we have a right to know, Mayor Bill Peduto, what you're giving away to the poor, needy, trillion-dollar company that is Amazon, one of only $2 trillion companies in the world, I might add, just for some extra clarification. So I ask the question, is Bill Peduto a hypocrite? I ask the question, does Mike Turzai deserve to be re-elected? He's in a close race. We're going to talk about that as well. We just passed International Podcast Day, the PodCon. I'll give some of my thoughts on that as well as Jaye Cooper, who will be calling in the later part of today's program. The program is River Talk. I am Brian Crawford. I am Pittsburgh's moral compass, trying to give the mayor of Pittsburgh a little guidance here. 7 p.m. on a Friday night at the beautiful Mr. Small's Theater on the River's Edge Radio Network at riversedgepgh.com. That's Pittsburgh's voice for local music. In about 2 minutes, we're going to be talking with the executive director of the Pittsburgh Libations Week, and his name is Mr. Jason Cercone, so you can stay tuned for that as well. If you want to join the conversation, you can text us at 412-4072-PGH. It's 412-407-2744. You can hit me up on Twitter at RiverTalkPGH. And you can also message us in the Facebook Live chat. Big shout out to Kevin Slogic. Kevin Slogic, my State Farm agent. He's in the Facebook Live feed right now. If you want to get a shout out, you can join that conversation as well. But Pittsburgh Libations Week, it's coming up. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Bill Peduto. International Podcast Day that just passed, the Pittsburgh PodCon. Some of my thoughts on the media coverage for the event itself, the world event of International Podcast Day. Thanks so much to Dave and Steve Lee for making us part of the program. It was really, really cool to be from Pittsburgh and helping to represent the United States. There were only 16 countries, I shouldn't say only, there were 16 countries involved in International Podcast Day. We were lucky to be one of those. Over 30 hours of content from all over the world. It was so cool to put Pittsburgh on the world stage. But right now we have Jason Cercone joining me on the phone. Hello, Jason. Can you hear me?
I can.
Great. So welcome to River Talk on the River's Edge Radio Network. We're here to talk
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we're here to talk about Pittsburgh Libations Week, and this is very exciting. This is going on. It's coming up this week, or this coming week, next week, October 12th, and I'm really, really excited about this because it's just something, it's right down my alley. So
Nice.
Tell me a little bit about this. You're the executive director. Did you start Pittsburgh Libations Week?
I did, yeah. This was really an idea born as we looked at some of the existing Pittsburgh Craft Beer Week, and I was looking at the whole model of how that was developed, and I really felt like, beer has obviously come a long way in Pittsburgh, and the evolution of it has been fantastic, but at the same time, we've got a lot of great distilleries and wineries, mead houses, cider houses. I felt like there could be a spotlight shined on everybody. So instead of just focusing on one beverage, we decided to put something together that would focus on everything. And from that, Pittsburgh Libations Week was born.
It's such a great idea. There are so many, as you said, so many great whiskey and cider and everything else. And one thing I love about Pittsburgh is a lot of times with those harder liquors or alternatives to beer, the stuff that we have here locally, it's so diverse. Like, I love going to Arsenal, for example, and I'm somebody, I have no sweet tooth at all. And it's very difficult to find a cider to match the tastes of someone like myself, but I can go to Arsenal and I can bring my friend who's got that sweet tooth, loves the sweet ciders, and I can get something that is super dry and really, really enjoy it. And I feel like that's probably pretty rare to have that kind of diversity in a city, especially a city this size. Am I wrong in thinking that?
Well, I think what we're looking at now, Pennsylvania for the longest time, the laws were a little bit skewed in that tap rooms really weren't allowed to feature other beverages and so on and so forth. Now we're looking at laws that allow a brewery tap room to also have whiskey and also have cider and also have mead. So there's a lot of cross-pollination between all of the different adult beverages. And when I looked at that, I just said, well, to me, this is screaming that we could have something that celebrates everything, because there is all kinds of different adult beverages playing with one another. And they all do different collaborations. They all work well with one another. It just seemed like the perfect fit and the perfect marriage to roll out something that celebrates that.
And it's so cool because with those new law changes that allow for the collaboration, you can realistically go to a brewery or a distillery or something like that and basically get whatever you want that you would get at a normal bar, but it's all local, so you're supporting local people in the process. I just think that's such a cool idea, and great that we are moving in that direction in the Commonwealth to allow for those kinds of options.
Yeah, no question. And when you think about it, there's a lot of times where your significant other might not be a beer fan, so going to a brewery isn't exactly their cup of tea. Now there's an alternative to where, hey, I can go to the brewery and I can get a beer, and my girlfriend can get a glass of wine or a glass of cider or something that is to her liking, and no one loses. Everybody ends up winning. And that's why I think the evolution of how that's all come together in Pittsburgh and beyond is fantastic, and we really wanted to shine a spotlight on that, and at the same time, we're trying to make Pittsburgh one of those drinking destinations that people travel to from across the world.
And
I think this is a great first step. Obviously, we're in the very beginning with our first Libations Week getting rolled out, but who knows where this idea goes from here,
Yeah, I'm here with Jason Cercone of Pittsburgh Libations Week in their inaugural year. It is coming up the 12th through the 20th, and I want to talk about how difficult was it to organize this event. I feel like it's a big undertaking, obviously, because it's over so many days, but I feel like you probably had a ton of support, because that's one thing that's really great about this community is even among different different beer brewers, for example, you would think that they would be competing for business, but they often work really well together. I know here in Millville, where we're located with the river's edge, you'll see these food truck roundups between Grist House and Dry Log, and it seems like instead of being competitive and combative, they work together a lot. So I imagine you probably got a lot of support versus a lot of friction as you would have maybe in a different industry.
No question about it. I mean, when I look at this industry as a whole, there's nothing more collaborative and more camaraderie in the world than the adult beverage industry. The breweries, they work very well together, but that's extended into working with distilleries. And a lot of these breweries have partnerships with distilleries to borrow barrels to where they can then barrel age their beer. And it's just led to one big collaborative community. And yeah, like you said, Brian, the support has been unbelievable, from the enthusiast side of it to the makers to the distributors, you name it. We've had a lot of people that have been very excited to see what we can bring to the table, and we kept the expectations pretty low for the first year. We weren't trying to do hundreds and hundreds of events because we know that could be very difficult to manage on our end as an organizational committee, but also for the consumer. When you've got 15 to 20 events to choose from, it can be very tough to say in one given day, well, you can't do everything. Am I choosing the right one? So instead of putting hundreds of events out there, we tried to keep it a little bit on the lower end. By the time this all gets started next weekend, we're probably going to have close to 50 events on the calendar throughout the 9-day period. And
Wow.
People can pick and choose a lot of different things, from educational events to just downright fun events. You name it. People are going to be able to pick something that they're going to enjoy. And the idea with this is hopefully when it's all said and done, they went to something memorable, they gravitated towards a brand, and they have something to look forward to throughout the year. Because I think the biggest reason why the community was so supportive is that we're not trying to just be a 9-day festival. We're trying to be something that's producing advocacy for the entire year. And I think a lot of people were able to get on board with that idea.
Well, I think it's so important, too, to make it easy for people to follow, because I know I'm one of those people where if it's too overwhelming, it just seems like it's more work, you know what I mean, to try to process everything. So I think you're really taking the right approach to this. So, Jason, let's talk about some of the events that are going to be happening at Pittsburgh Libations Week. What are some of the things that you have planned?
We've got everything from, if you start with, looking at Saturday, we've got a golf scramble planned with the Pittsburgh Craft Beer Society. Maggie's Farm Rum, which is one of our sponsors, is having their 5th anniversary party. Blue Dust, who has been a great supporter of us, is doing their Pumpkin Fest. So, I mean, that's just Saturday, and that's just getting the ball rolling. So, I don't want to try to name off every single event that we have because it's going to be difficult, and I don't want to leave anybody out. But I can say that we've got a beer cocktail event planned. We've got a craft spirit symposium planned where we've got some actual makers and distillery owners coming out to talk to individuals and answer questions that they may have about the spirits revolution. The Port in PA documentary that was produced by GK Visual down in Harrisburg. I know that's aired a few times here in Pittsburgh. We're going to be doing a screening at Beerport on Thursday the 18th. And that event's also going to have the director of the movie plus some representatives of breweries that were featured in the film. So it's an opportunity for people to come out and enjoy some of the beers that were made by those breweries, meet some representatives of the company, and check out the film if they haven't seen it. One of the events I'm pretty excited about is we're doing an axe throwing tournament with Lumberjacks, and
Nice.
we've co-branded that with Spoonwood Brewing. So Thursday, October 18th, we've got the tournament lined up to be at their new location in the South Hills, and I think everybody's pretty aware of the phenomenon that is axe throwing. That's really caught fire here in Pittsburgh. and I think that that's going to be a ton of fun. So we'll have beer and food from Spoonwood and some good prizes for the winners of the axe throwing tournament. So that's just scratching the surface.
Wow.
Like I said, the week has got some great events from the educational side to just the plain old fun side. Another one of our sponsors, Caliente Pizza and Draft House, is starting a new craft cocktail menu, and they're using the week to feature that menu. And they're going to be doing some great drinks for people. So really, no matter what you're into, chances are you're going to find something fun to do during Pittsburgh Libations Week. We're really excited to bring some cool events to everybody and see where this can go.
Now, what kind of alcohol drinker are you, Jason? What's your favorite type of alcohol? Are you a whiskey guy? Do you love beer? Are you into ciders? Or are you an equal opportunity offender like I am?
Probably the latter. I would say beer is what got me started in this industry. I started a beer website called Breaking Brews back in 2014.
Oh, yeah, I'm familiar with that. Okay.
Yeah, it's still very active with that website. We've been the official blog of Pittsburgh Libations Week, so we've been using that to push information about Libations Week out to the public. But yeah, it all started with just getting into the beer scene, and I got into it right around the time that the whole brewery revolution was starting here in Pittsburgh. And a lot of the great breweries that have cemented themselves here in Pittsburgh, like Grist House and Brew Gentleman and Hitchhiker and Spoonwood and right down the list, so many of them came along in that time frame. And we've seen where it's gone from there. But no, I love bourbon. I love beer. I love mead. I put a drink that's been fermented in front of me, chances are I'm going to drink it and not be upset.
I think that the alcohol scene... it's kind of funny that we have an alcohol scene here in Pittsburgh, but we really do, like we have a music scene or anything else. I feel like really the alcohol scene is what's going to truly turn Pittsburgh into a destination location. And they always talk about Pittsburgh being this great place for tourism and things like that. And I live here, I like Pittsburgh, but I'll be honest, if I'm going on vacation, typically I'd be going to the beach. I wouldn't be going to Pittsburgh, but I feel like this could change that as people go from town to town because they're really into roller coasters, for example. I feel like Pittsburgh's becoming a place where if you're really, really into beer and alcohol, Pittsburgh has to be on your list at this point, right? Especially with all of the breweries we have, and now you're talking about the meaderies and the cider houses and everything else added to the equation. There is so much to see. I feel like you could spend your 2-week vacation here, spend it completely drunk, and still not be able to catch everything that Pittsburgh has to offer. Am I wrong?
No, there's no way. If you could pull that off in 2 weeks, you're an impressive individual. And that's the thing about it is you can look at this scene for what it has to offer and map out where you feel is the best. And you see this a lot on a lot of the Facebook forums, people saying, I'm coming into Pittsburgh, where should I go? And that's where a lot of the community will go in and recommend their favorites. So you're already coming into town ahead of the curve because you're getting some people that live right here in the city talking about, hey, this is a place you need to check out. And then from there, it can just spawn off into a number of different places. And you think about it, the number of bars that feature local beer. There's a lot of, there's a lot of advocacy from those places that make a person say, hey, I like this beer here. I'm going to go straight to the stores and check this out while I'm in town. So I know that there are a lot of people that will plan vacations around going on brewery tours and going on distillery tours and wine tours, and that's great. I think Pittsburgh has a lot to offer in that respect, and I know that when I see my friends plan for events like that or plan for vacations like that, they're talking about other destinations. Obviously, being here in Pittsburgh, they're not going to be flooding their Facebook feeds or their Twitter feeds with pictures of Pittsburgh, but in return, when it reciprocates, I'd like to see people that would come into Pittsburgh and do that for their friends. Say, oh my God, I spent 4 days in Pittsburgh and I went here and it was phenomenal. And word starts to spread like wildfire. And then all of a sudden, Pittsburgh is even more of a tourist destination for the adult beverage scene. And hopefully this is something that could be nothing more than a platform and an advocacy site to really get people into that mindset.
And I think it's well on its way. There's been talk of a beer museum in Pittsburgh.
Mhm.
You look at the beer guide that has recently came out, where it will actually give you pre-planned brewery tours that you can take. I feel like the collaborative nature of this industry could make it happen here in Pittsburgh. Like I said, it's not very adversarial. You see in a lot of other communities where people are not as willing to look at the bigger picture. They're worried about their independent brand, where I feel like
Right.
these establishments are looking to work together, and they're thinking of the future and how much more really that's how much more profitable they're going to be by working together instead of working against one another. And I think that could really allow this community, this alcohol community, to really thrive. And I'm excited to see if more of that comes to fruition in the future.
No question about it. No question about it. Yeah, there's a lot for us to be proud of here in town with what we have to do as citizens of Pittsburgh. There's really no way that we can ever be thirsty, because there's always going to be a great venue for us to check out. And for people that are coming into town, I think it's just going to keep driving that tourism bug forward, and it's going to be a great time and a great time to be a citizen of Pittsburgh for sure.
Do you think, or do you know, have any of these local breweries here in the Pittsburgh area or distilleries or whatnot, have any of them made it outside of Pittsburgh? Or are they in, like we talked about them being in the local bars, which you see all of the time. It's almost, you almost can't survive in Pittsburgh now without having some sort of local draft on tap. Are they starting to leave the Pittsburgh area as far as expanding into our neighboring states?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, there's several breweries here in town that have expanded their distribution beyond Pittsburgh. And the same with whiskey as well. Like Boyd & Blair Vodka, they're available in, I believe, it's 10 states across the country. Actually, I take that back. I think it's 40 states. Like I'm forgetting the number off the top of my head, but I know it's a big number. So
Wow.
they've expanded well beyond Pittsburgh. Wiggle Whiskey's the same way. They are available in several different states. So, yeah, I think the companies that were born here, they've really been able to build their footprint outside of Pittsburgh, too. And I think that speaks a lot to what we've got here in regards to it being a hotbed. Everybody's able to set up shop and be part of this very collaborative community. They can find success because we have very passionate enthusiasts that will support their brand, and it allows them to grow. And that's the name of the game. I think that's a fantastic part of this.
I think it also speaks to the culture of these establishments. You mentioned Wiggle Whiskey, and you go there and you wouldn't expect them to be in other states because they still feel like that local small town distillery here in Pittsburgh. It doesn't feel like some sort of like, and not that they're not a corporate machine, but it doesn't feel like a company that is in all of these different states.
Right. No, absolutely right.
Cool.
And you keep that small town feel and that small town appeal. It allows you to expand beyond that and get into other cities and other states. And you don't want to lose that connection with your hometown, because that's your bread and butter. That's where you live. You want to play in your neighborhood, and I think most companies here have a very good grasp on that mindset.
Yeah, I agree. PittsburghLibationsWeek.com. You can find out all of the information there. It's going on from the 12th, October 12th through the 20th. Jason Cercone, if you have to, one thing about the week that you're really, really excited about, the can't miss event, what is it?
I would say, the can't miss event. It's so hard for me to sit here and say that you have to pick one over all the others, because they're all equally important. They're all offering something of equal value. I think if there's one word of encouragement that I can give everybody, it's just get out and check out something. Everybody's worked very hard to put this together. Our sponsors have done an unbelievable job with bringing this whole thing together and making it good. And one thing we haven't touched on yet is we also have a charitable aspect to our cause.
Oh, okay.
We partnered with a local nonprofit called Lending Hearts, and a portion of all of our event revenue and all of our sponsorships is being donated to Lending Hearts. And thanks to the generosity of our sponsors, plus the enthusiasts that have come out and supported some of the events that we've thrown leading up to Libations Week, we've already raised over $1,500 for Lending Hearts, and we're planning on giving much more to them when this is all said and done. So, and not only do you get to come out and enjoy the scene, but a portion of any event revenue that you jump on board with is going to go to Lending Hearts as well. So,
what do they do?
For a great cause at the same time.
What does Lending Hearts do?
Lending Hearts is a nonprofit that raises funds and awareness for pediatric cancer. It was founded in 2011, and they've they've forged some great paths here in Pittsburgh. They've done some work with the Pirates. I believe they've done some work with the Penguins as well. And it's a great organization, and we're really proud to be partnered with them for our initial efforts.
Wow, fantastic. That's great. So, again, it's coming up. It's going to be from the 12th all the way to the 20th. Full week. You cannot miss it. PittsburghLibationsWeek.com. It's Jason Cercone. Thank you so much, sir, for calling in, and look forward to hopefully I'll run into you at one of the local places. Thank you so much, Jason.
You bet. Thanks, Brian. Appreciate your time.
That's Jason Cercone. I'm Brian Crawford. This is the Rivers Edge Radio Network at riversedgepgh.com. Don't forget, you can ask your Amazon Echo device to play the Rivers Edge. Just say, Alexa, play the Rivers Edge station on TuneIn, and you can listen to the Rivers Edge right there. That looks like a ton of fun. And it's great because I go to a lot of the different local places, and I'll be honest, I enjoy it better. I love the atmosphere. I love the taste. And I've never been one to drink to get drunk. And that's one thing I actually really, really like about going to the local places. It's interesting because the ABV for all of these establishments is usually pretty high for most of the beer and the alcohol with the local places, but you don't see people stumbling around. People are usually pretty coherent. Yeah, you might get a little tipsy going to the brewery, but you typically are not a drunkard, right? So, I don't know. I'm really excited. I think this is great. I think it's such a cool idea. Again, PittsburghLibationsWeek.com, and Libations, it's spelled Libations, PittsburghLibationsWeek.com. Another big event, if you missed my interview with Mike Zickafoose, it was just on Wednesday night. We've got All Seen right here in this building, Mr. Small's Theater. That's going to be tomorrow. And after you're done listening to this show, be sure to stop over at the Allegheny Elks to see Dan Gecken and the 12-6 with their CD release party. I'm really excited for this All Seen event. It's All Seen Entertainment Festival. And there's a ton of musicians, visual artists, yoga, all sorts of things going on right here at Mr. Small's. And it's been a weekend. That's like my day to recover. And it's not going to happen. Like, Friday sucks. Like, let me tell you how my day goes Friday. I go to work. Well, let's take a few steps backwards into Thursday. Thursday, I wake up. Yesterday, we did some work for the music festival. We were fixing up some risers, and then I go into work. It's 11 p.m. I'm already tired walking into the place. I work till about 7:30, get something to eat, and here I am back in the studio. Gike's got game 10 to 11 a.m. That ends. I, of course, trickle down to the cafe downstairs here at Mr. Small's and get myself a few beverages. And then I make it home and go to bed, and I got to wake back up in time to come here. And typically I only have between 4 and 5 hours to sleep. But today I decided to snooze. And man, did I run in here at the last minute to get this show up and running. But that's what it is every Friday. Sometimes it's worse. Sometimes I'm here with the Science Center, which we're so thrilled to have here on the River's Edge. But my sleep schedule is kind of like, not happy. So then tomorrow, Saturday, that's usually my day to sleep in, but man, how do you sleep in when you have all of this great stuff going on here at All Seen for $10? I think it's $10 to get in. Yeah, $10 all ages, 3 p.m. to 1 a.m. here at Mr. Small's. So it'll keep me awake. But man, Saturday night when I go back into work, I'm going to be exhausted. That's going to be very rough right there. Bill Peduto calling for the Senate to release the FBI investigation into Brett Kavanaugh, the Supreme Court nominee, who I don't think is going to make it, by the way. I don't think they have the votes. They think that they do. They only were able to close debate on the nomination with one vote. Just one vote. 51 to 49 to close debate on the Senate floor over the Supreme Court nomination. That doesn't mean that they have 51 votes to put him in. Don't fool yourself. I've seen some commentary on Facebook, people celebrating as if it's in the bag. Don't be so sure. Some people, they may be at the point where they're done talking about it, but that doesn't mean that they're going to vote for the man, and anything can change in the next couple days. So don't feel too confident. Personally, I don't think he's the right guy for the job. There's too many allegations. We're talking about the Supreme Court. That's another thing that's been bothering me. And I don't talk much national politics, but Bill Peduto brought it up. I'm sick of people talking about how the Supreme Court isn't a political entity. That's bollocks. It's just not true. The Supreme Court has always been, not that the Supreme Court's acted politically in what has. Let's just say FDR, when he was trying to push through New Deal legislations in other forms of legislation, FDR literally stacked the Supreme Court. He did. He stacked the court, put in extra justices to pass his legislation. There were other presidents who would try to put political rivals, people that they didn't necessarily see eye to eye with, they would try to get them into the Supreme Court, nominate them to the Supreme Court because it would take them out of the playing field. The Supreme Court has always been a political tool. That's unfortunate, but it is the case. The Supreme Court is not this entity that has been historically free from political infighting. In fact, it's been the cornerstone of political infighting for a long, long time. So let's just get rid of that narrative. Everybody becomes this purist when they're upset. Like I don't want Kavanaugh to become a Supreme Court justice, but I'm not going to rewrite history to paint a story, to paint a false narrative of what the Supreme Court is and what the Supreme Court has historically been, simply because I don't want that guy in office. I'm not one of those at all costs people, because honestly, when you become that way, when you just make up facts, when you rewrite the history, then you lose people like me who know the history. Well, maybe you don't lose us because we also know what's going on currently, but it's just not the way to go. We can learn from our history and grow. We can say, oh, you shouldn't be nominating Supreme Court justices in excess to make sure that your policies aren't overturned. You could say, oh, no, you shouldn't nominate someone to the Supreme Court simply so they're out of your hair because you want to maintain power. There are things we can learn from our history. Let's not try to hide it to focus on something that's going on now. We can say that the Supreme Court has been a vice for political will, and that is not okay, and that maybe this time, here and now, in 2018, we can change that. That's the direction I'd like to see us go, not rewriting history, not ignoring our pasts. No, let's use our past as an opportunity to change the present and change the future. In just a couple minutes, we've got Jay Cooper. He'll be calling in. He is live from McKees Rocks at the Pick Your Poison event. If you remember, we had the wheel here in studio. We've talked about Pick Your Poison before. The Pick Your Poison event going on tonight. Tonight's a weird night because there's so much going on this weekend. And there are two things going on: Dan Getkin and Pick Your Poison, which starts at 8 p.m. And that's going to be at the Rocks Landing Bar and Grill, as I said, in McKees Rocks. Two really great events going on at the same time. I'm going to be going to Dan Getkin tonight simply because it's a CD release party. It's only going to happen once. But Pick Your Poison is going to be a monthly thing. And tonight, if you're in the area or you're looking for a few laughs, Pick Your Poison is definitely the route to go tonight. We're going to talk a little bit about Mike Turzai after I get done with Jay. If you have any comments on Bill Peduto, please feel free to give us a text, 412-4072-PGH. That's 412-407-2744. Of course, on the Facebook Live feed at River Talk, Facebook Live feed at River Talk PGH on Facebook. Or you can tweet me on Twitter at River Talk PGH as well. All of that for your commentary. We got Jay here on the phone. Let's get him here. Jay Cooper in McKees Rocks here on River Talk, talking remotely. Jay, what's it look like out there? How are things at the landing? How are things out there at Pick Your Poison at the Rocks Landing Bar and Grill?
Right now, it's looking pretty good. Thanks for asking. We're just getting our stuff together. Howie, he's up for mixer, so he's going to be on the ones and twos. He's going to be playing the music for us, as well as co-hosting with me. Got the chairs out. I'm getting ready to set up the SNL wheel. And, we better order some food and get this party started.
So you guys moved. You're now at the Rocks Landing, and you took a little bit of a hiatus with the Pick Your Poison, but it was a great event. So glad that you guys found this great venue out in McKees Rocks, which is really becoming an up-and-coming area. People don't realize that, but McKees Rocks is really becoming one of the places to be in Pittsburgh. Has there been a buzz?
Absolutely.
Has there been a buzz and an excitement about the Pick Your Poison event and its return to Pittsburgh comedy?
Oh, absolutely, especially for the comedians. It's been about a year since we've done Pick Your Poison, and once we know Pick Your Poison was back, everybody got excited. Like the ones that were there, that participated last time, or the ones that didn't get a chance to, now they want to be involved. We got people from outside of Pittsburgh that want to be involved in this, so it's a beautiful thing. And I'm hoping that, like you said, McKees Rock, it's on the rise as far as, on the come up of everything. I mean, we get the Parkway Theater. It's like a mile from here, and you know that they have comedy there every Friday and Saturday. And now, me and Howie, we have our Last of the Landing here every fourth Saturday, and now we have Pick Your Poison every first Friday. So, hey, anybody that's close to the McKees Rocks area, hey, come on out, enjoy yourself. It's a free show. Come out and see some improvisation along with stand-up comedy, man. You're gonna enjoy it.
Man, that's really becoming you guys' place. You're really turning that into a comedy venue.
It kind of seemed like it. We're trying little by little. Two shows out of the month. Baby steps. Eventually, we would like to, spruce it up more and, make it bigger, like how they're doing down in Hambos in Morrisville.
Yeah.
We're trying. So. We've been getting a lot of good feedback from people on Facebook, and I've been posting it all on so many Facebook pages. So we got people from outside the state that's been viewing, and they've been contacting me. I've been getting friend requests all day from comedians I've never heard of before.
Yeah, that's the thing. When you put together an event, then everybody wants to be your friend all of a sudden. You become the most popular person in Pittsburgh. But that's the sign of a successful event, when there's that kind of energy.
Absolutely. And every time we did a Pick Your Poison show, it's always been a great show. So I'm just so glad that we found this place, and the people of Rocks Landing have been so good to us. So, what better way to return the favor by putting on a great show like this?
Yeah, for sure. And briefly explain what Pick Your Poison is. We don't want to go too crazy, because people who've been following the show, they know. But for somebody who's listening in for the first time, what is Pick Your Poison?
All right, Pick Your Poison is part improvisation, part stand-up comedy. So anybody who wants to participate, they have a choice. They get to pick their poison on what topics they want to talk about. We have topics in containers, or you can take the chance and spin the FML wheel, which has a little bit more raunchy topics. And we have our big black clock that does a countdown. You have 2 minutes to talk about that topic and make it funny. And then after the 2 minutes is up, you have a remaining 4 minutes. You can stay on topic, or you can go on with your material. Simple as that.
Very cool. So that's exciting. So just last weekend, Jay, you were involved in the Pittsburgh PodCon, which was part of International Podcast Day at Spirit Lounge. So I wanted to get your thoughts briefly on what your experience was at the Pittsburgh PodCon.
I gotta be honest with you, Brian. I did not know that we had that many podcast people in the local area. We talked about that on the last show. It is amazing the exposure that's out there. And I gotta tell you what, me hosting it didn't even set the bar right. I mean, I saw so many different types of culturistic type things that were going on. And shout out to everybody that participated in that, and for those that viewed, online, because, it was a great time. I really did. I enjoyed everything. I enjoyed every show that was on stage that I called up, as well as the people that were out there that were networking themselves to the viewing public that was walking in. So, yeah, great time. I feel like it was a success, Brian. And it was on your birthday on top of that.
Yeah, I was really impressed. You mentioned the different types of podcasts and the tables that were around the event. I was really impressed with that because I didn't realize that there were that many podcasts in Pittsburgh as well. And what was interesting is the submissions that we received were not what I call the old guard. And what I mean by the old guard is there were some Epicast shows and some River's Edge and Sorgatron shows, but by and large, it was made up of a lot of independent podcasters who weren't connected to these networks that everybody knows in Pittsburgh. And I thought that was really fascinating. But what was really, really cool to see was the creativity in the table designs at the event. Mm-hmm. One of my biggest fears leading into that event is that you would have a bunch of blank white tables with small stacks of business cards. But really, you didn't see that. You had a table where it was covered in comic books. That was with the comic book pit. You had a record player on one table. You had actual implants that people put in underneath their skin to do different things. It was really, really fascinating to see just the variety of tables that were available. And then, of course, all of the stage performances were fantastic. You did a great job as host as well. So I thought, I do think the production of the event was really great. I was a little disappointed in the media coverage, I'll be honest. We had a really great write-up in the city paper, which was fantastic, where Jay, you and I were on a full spread, really just an awesome article about the state of podcasting in general in Pittsburgh. But outside of that, there was really very little coverage, so I guess it's great that we got the crowd that we did despite no one covering the event. And I thought, wow, putting Pittsburgh on the world scene, you would think that would be an event that people would really, really be interested in. And I was shocked to see that really, the Pittsburgh Current had, I think, like a half sentence in the paper. Now, they did some social media the day of, but leading into the event, very little coverage. Very little coverage, no coverage from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette or the Tribune Review. I just was shocked.
Maybe the city just hasn't caught up yet. Maybe they haven't caught up yet, but I know that they've heard the buzz from the event that we did. So I'm hoping that if we do this event again next year, that the coverage will be even bigger by the media. I'm talking like bigger spread.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Maybe they were just testing us out. I mean, we were testing it out too, And I got to say, we did a great job. So for those who may have doubted us, hey, But I definitely enjoyed myself. I enjoyed everybody that was up on stage. I enjoyed everybody who had a table, who gave their input on what it is that they bring to the community. I enjoyed the food that was outside. That was food. I was hungry. I enjoyed everything. It was pretty nice. I've been getting a lot of people, just from the CT alone, I got a lot of people saying, hey, did you know you was in the city paper? I'm like a celebrity at work, man.
Yeah, it's funny how that happens, right?
Yeah, right? That's awesome. So yeah, this can only get bigger. going into next year.
To jump back to, yeah, I agree. But I wanted to touch base with you real quick on that. We haven't had a chance to recap that event. This is the first time we've been back on air, and you're going to be back here in studio next week. But we do have a big announcement. Speaking of Pick Your Poison, heading back to that, we do have a big announcement that we're going to make right here on air. Going forward, once a month, leading into Pick Your Poison, we're going to be doing River Talk on location. And that's going to be great. That on location, right there at the Rocks Landing in McKees Rocks. And I think that's going to be really, really cool. A great way to hopefully highlight Pick Your Poison, maybe talk to some of the comedians that will be involved. Yeah. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, any type of publicity that we can get. I mean, I'm me and Howie are grateful for it. I wish Howie could jump on and speak up, but he's still working on the mixer and everything. But he definitely is on board with that. I'm on board with it. I definitely want people, the people of River's Edge, like that are supporters, to know about this place if they don't already. And come check us out. It's really nice out here. It is very nice. People are friendly, good environment. We're going to have good music, good entertainment. I mean, what more can you ask for, right?
Absolutely. And that's going on literally in 10 minutes it starts. So if you're not on your way, get on your way right now. You can still listen to the show on your way. Just pull out the Facebook app, click the River Talk page, and click play on the live video feed, and it's right there.
That's right. There. And if you want to put it in your GPS right now and head out here, it's 506 Chartiers Avenue in McKees Rocks. Make sure it says McKees Rocks, PA, not Pittsburgh, PA. Make sure it says McKees Rocks. So 506 Chartiers Avenue. Come on out, man. Enjoy yourself. It's going to be a great night.
Absolutely. Jay Cooper, thank you so much. Look forward to seeing you back in studio next week.
Yes, sir. I'll see you bright and early. I guess I can say it like that. I'll see you next Friday.
It'll be bright and early for me. It'll be the end of your day, right. But for me, I'll just be waking up, as I mentioned earlier in today's show. That's Jay Cooper. He is out at the Rocks. He's out in McKees Rocks at the Rocks Landing. Pick Your Poison starts in just 9 minutes. Be sure to head out and check that out if you're in the area, or if you're not in the area, drive out. It's going to be going on to at least 10 p.m. That's Jay Cooper. He'll be back next week. I'm Brian Crawford here on the River's Edge.
Oh, can I say it?
Yeah, go. What's up?
Later, bitches.
Later, bitches. There we go. That's Jay Cooper. He'll be back in studio next week, next Friday, right here on River Talk. So, Mike Turzai, he's actually in a neck-and-neck race for his House seat, the Speaker of the House here in Pennsylvania, right up in the North Hills, right here, right near Millville. He doesn't actually represent Millville or the city, but he's right here in the area, and he's only within 5 points of Emily Skobov, who is the Democrat running against him for the seat. So, of course, if he loses, he won't be the Speaker of the House anymore. I remember back when I remember when he became Speaker of the House. I was working for the State House when I believe his name was Sam Smith was Speaker of the House, and I remember when Mike Turzai took that position. But I, for one, am hoping that this guy loses. And it comes down to a single voter issue. I mean, there's several issues in which he and I don't agree. One area where we do agree, and this has been brought up on my Facebook timeline, is, I made a comment about hoping this guy gets out of office. And somebody said, oh, he's in favor of shrinking the legislature. Sure, that is an issue I agree with, but really, the size of the legislature in the grand scheme of the costs that this state incurs is not the largest. But one issue that is really, really big for me, man, maybe we'll get more involved in this conversation next week. But one issue that really, as you know, really, really is important to me is the water issue in Pittsburgh. Mike Turzai has zero, let me repeat that, 0 constituents that are affected by the situation that we're dealing with here under the PWSA, Pittsburgh Water and Sewage Authority. 0. 0 constituents. Yet Mike Turzai has been at the forefront of advocating for the privatization of the PWSA. Now, why, you ask, is Mike Turzai in favor of privatization? He has no dog in the fight, right? He has no constituents that live here in the PWSA's domain. He doesn't live in the PWSA's domain, so why, do you ask, does he care? Well, it all comes down to the mighty dollar. Just as Kevin Acklin left the mayor's office to run to Peoples to broker a sweetheart deal, Mr. Turzai is receiving a lot of money from the CEO of Peoples Natural Gas. And there's nothing that pisses me off more than somebody selling out my health, my safety, for a cheap buck. Worry about your own water, Mike. Worry about your own tap water. Keep your greedy hands off of mine. This guy wanted to be our governor. Represent someone else. Get out of here. And he's not my representative, but I may find myself working a polling station in the North Hills on election day to help get this guy out of town. Because when it becomes personal when you go after my drinking water. And you could say with Peduto that at least he has to drink the water too. But you can't say that with Mike Turzai. You can't say it. And because he's the Speaker of the House, he yields considerable influence on what is going on in this area despite having 0 constituents. So keep your hands off my water. This isn't some sort of state water system. It's local to this area. You have no constituents here. And you know what? This race is indicative of the culture that we are living in, where progressive values are on the rise. I never would have imagined a few years ago that Mike Turzai would be in a situation where he could lose his seat. Right now, he has everything. He's the House Speaker. That would be huge. Do you have any idea how big that would be if Mike Turzai loses his seat? That may be a sign of a big bloodbath and even a changing of the guard in Harrisburg. It's been under Republican rule for quite some time. And I'm wondering if we're seeing a change, a shifting of the seas, so to say, in Harrisburg. And I wonder if we'll see a Democratic-run House. Wouldn't that be crazy? Wouldn't that be crazy? Especially if Tom Wolf wins again, and I think he will. We could see some big changes coming to the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. We won't see a decrease in the legislature, though, and that is one area where I do definitely agree with him on. So if you have any comments, we'll, of course, address them throughout the week, throughout the Facebook Live feed, and, of course, on Twitter at RiverTalkPGH. But I may have just lost the Facebook video. We'll see. Well, we're going to wrap things up because somehow we have gotten logged off of the Facebook Live feed. But that's okay. We're going to be live. Of course, we're always 10 a.m. right here at riversedgepgh.com Saturdays and Mondays. But I do want to encourage you to head out to pick your poison. It's going on right now, actually. It's starting in just 2 minutes. Pick your poison. in McKees Rocks. Also, we have Dan Gekken in the 12-6, the album release right on the North Shore, all seen tomorrow. I cannot encourage you more to head to All Seen right here at Mr. Smalls. There's going to be so much going on there. And Mike Zickafus, the founder and creator of All Seen Pittsburgh, he is also a committee member of the Millville Music Festival. So if you're a big fan of that, due to our involvement in that, our media sponsorship, then I would definitely encourage you to go out to All Seen as well. And I do want to apologize real quick. I know in the last month I've been on and off with the show. We haven't been as consistent as I like to be. It's been a real struggle switching back to overnights and just getting my mind in the right frame. Throw PodCon on top of that. It's been a really, really interesting last couple of weeks and last month. But we're going to get things back. We're going to get things straight again. I'll be gone for a weekend in October coming up, right around the 20th, for a wedding, a couple weddings that I have going on. But then I'll try to get some guest hosts in for you there. But then we're going to be full steam ahead. Things are going to be back in order. And it'll be the good old River Talk that you know and love. Thank you guys so much for listening to today's program. Be sure to comment throughout the week. We'll get to those comments, and maybe we'll address them on Sunday as well. Thanks to Jay Cooper. Thanks to Jason Cercone for calling in. Don't forget to check out Pittsburgh Libations Week, which is coming up next week. And don't forget to listen to local music. Oh, and one thing I was thinking of while we were talking about this, with the water situation, if like some evil private company purchased the water and none of us were able to drink, they cut us off, we'd all die. And I don't even know that there would be anybody left at Hahn Funeral Home to take care of your needs. Hahn Funeral Home, the only family-owned funeral home here in Millville. It's a family-owned business and known for the green burial. So be sure to check them out. They have an event coming up, actually. I'll have to let you know about that event. We'll share that on the Facebook page. It's a conversation about death, and it's going to be at the actual funeral home. They're going to have tea, and they're going to be talking about death. So you don't want to miss that as well. I'm Brian Crawford. This has been River Talk. This is the River's Edge Radio Network. I'll see you all on Sunday. Don't forget, All Seen tomorrow, 3 p.m. to 1 a.m. right here at Mr. Small's Theater. This has been River Talk on the River's Edge Radio Network, Pittsburgh's voice for local music.